Welcome to the first episode of a closer look at suicide prevention. I recently sat down with Kristen Martin, clinician with Chesapeake Integrated Behavioral Health Care, to discuss suicide statistics, how to recognize the signs in someone who may be contemplating suicide, and the help and resources that are available for those in crisis. So, Kristen, thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
Let's dive right in with statistics. Can you give me some statistics on suicide?
So in 2022, in the state of Virginia, 1,211 people lost their life to suicide, 29 of them being here in Chesapeake. And in the last 17 years, the city of Chesapeake has lost 467 people to suicide. And it's really important to remember also that 5 to 25% of suicides go unreported. So those numbers are just the ones that we know about, because a lot of times when the Office of Medical Examiner comes out with their reports, if they can't definitively say it was a suicide, they can't mark it down as one. It may be an accident, and they're not here to tell us their story. And then sometimes also stigma still attached, which we all know has come a long way, but it's still a big deal. Maybe some family or communities don't want to say that it was a suicide because they feel guilt or shame or whatever other negative emotions come along with suicide. So again, those are just the numbers that we know about.
And that's a high number, but any number
a
high number.
The number should be zero.
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
absolutely.
That's 467 people in Chesapeake that lost their life, and that number should be zero because it's preventable.
So what are some of the warning signs that someone may be contemplating suicide?
So a lot of the times we kind of break them down into three categories. The first one would be talk, things that they're talking about. They could be blatantly talking about killing themselves. They could be talking about feeling hopeless, trapped, feeling like they're a burden to other people, or that they have burdens in their own life that they feel like they can't manage. There also could be behaviors. And I say this in all of our trainings. You know, a lot of people think of giving away prized possessions. My possessions would be my dogs, and they're my coping skills for me. And so if you hear me saying, Karen, I want to rehome my dogs, that's a big red flag for me. So giving away prized possessions, sleeping too much or too little out of the ordinary, eating changes, withdrawing from things that they normally would care about, and then just mood changes, just out of the ordinary for that person. It could be showing signs of sadness, anxiety, irritability, shame, guilt, any of those things. And it's also really important to remember that warning signs for suicide could be very different from person to person. And a lot of times it's going to be people that you know, where you're going to be able to see that tiny shift in their talk, behavior, or mood and say, that's not right for this person. Let's investigate.
So it's important to take it serious.
Very seriously, every single time. Never brush it off and think it's not serious, because that could be the one time that they really need someone's help. And when people brush it off or think it's not a big deal and don't take it seriously, that person may feel very invalidated.
Right, like they're not important.
Yes, exactly. And no one wants to feel that way.
How big a role does education play in suicide prevention?
It's a huge role, because a lot of times people don't help, not because they don't want to, because they're nervous and they're scared that they don't have the skills and the knowledge to help someone. That's why in prevention we have a lot of trainings and supplies that we hand out, so we can give people those tools for their toolbox and learn the warning signs and symptoms, decrease that stigma, and not think of it as a taboo subject, not be scared of it, but talk about it in confidence and say, I'm here to help you. Suicide is serious. Let's talk about it, because I genuinely want to help you.
And you mentioned stigma earlier. It's changed a little bit, but it's still a huge issue, is it?
It's still a huge issue. Like I said before, we've come a long way, but we still have a really long way to go. And just doing things like talking about mental health in everyday conversations, because you want to talk to people when they're feeling good. You want to instill, especially in kids, coping skills. Talking about emotions is normal, instead of just saying, how was your day? Did anything make you happy today? I asked my almost 9-year-old, what made you happy today? What made you smile? Did anything make you sad? Did anything challenge you? To where emotions are a part of daily conversation. And that way, you, in your home and in your community, at work, your church group, your hobby group, wherever, sees mental health as just another topic of discussion. And that's one way to break down stigma.
And it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly. It's not a sign of weakness. And a lot of people still have that idea where, oh my gosh, if I ask for help or if I show that I'm struggling, that I'm weak. But it's a sign of strength to ask for help, because it takes a
Absolutely.
lot of strength inside to say, listen, I'm not doing well. Can I get help from someone?
And if, say, you have an issue with, your arm or something is sore, you're going to seek help for that.
Exactly.
It's just your brain is a body part.
Physical health and mental health are one and the same, and that's why we focus a lot on overall well-being.
Right.
Because your headaches could be caused by anxiety. Anxiety could be causing your stomach issues. It's all one and the same, and they're all interconnected. And that's really one part that we're trying to break down, is that they're not separated. They're one and the same and should be seen as such.
So what advice do you offer parents who may be concerned about some changes in their child?
Like I said before, really normalizing those conversations about emotions and mental health. And of course, you can do this in age appropriate. You don't need to be talking to a 5-year-old about anxiety disorder.
Right.
But there's always age appropriate conversations that you can have just on a daily basis to normalize that. That way, when they come to you or you notice something is wrong, they're more willing to talk to you because it's something that they're just used to talking about.
Exactly.
And it's really important that when a parent or even adult is concerned about youth or a child, to make sure that you're non-judgmental, that you're really supportive, and that the conversation stays focused on the child. Because a lot of times as adults, we have that wisdom, and we think like, okay, well, one time this happened to me as a child, so let me tell you what I did. And that may not be helpful for them, and that's kind of taking the shift off of them and putting it back onto you. So really validate their feelings and keep the conversation about them, and just show genuine empathy and concern for them, because they can see if you're not being serious about it. So really make sure that you show that support and that empathy, and I care about you and I'm here to help you.
And kids today, I'm like kids today, but they're exposed to so much more, like with social media and the internet, and
they are.
It has to be so overwhelming.
I'm sure, and even just as an adult, the constant bombardment of social media and reels and all these websites. And I joke, but I'm serious too, is, when I was in school, we had MySpace. And anyone watching who knows MySpace, it was very technologically down here. And now there's so many avenues. And there's always loopholes through security on these, and even like YouTube. I love YouTube, but then there's also issues with YouTube, is you never know what these kids are watching. You never know what's on social media. You never know what they can find out on the internet. So I do feel like, kids these days, like you said, they're more exposed to information, and with, greater access to things, it's awesome, but it also comes with its challenges. And so our children nowadays are more exposed to stuff that we weren't exposed to. So we have to really make sure as adults and parents in these kids' lives that we show that support and we give them the accurate information, because we don't want them going online and getting the inaccurate information.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking too, like the bullying online as well. That's an extra added.
It is. And,
stress.
I say, when we were kids, were kids back in the day, Karen.
I was a kid a little bit longer than you, so that's okay.
But, when bullying occurred, it was usually face-to-face at school or outside. But now people are exposed, it's getting exposed on a lot of social media, text messages, chats, all of that. And kids are suffering in silence. And so again, we want to make sure that they have those tools to be able to cope with that and to have a trusted adult in your life. Because you can't ever, a trusted adult in a youth's life is invaluable.
Oh, I agree 100%.
They can make the world of a difference to someone.
Can you talk about Safe Talk training?
Safe Talk training is a 3-hour training that we offer. The platform is through LivingWorks, so we're all train the trainers to be able to deliver this curriculum to the public. It's a 3-hour training that shows people how to recognize signs and symptoms that someone may be feeling suicidal or experiencing some suicidal thoughts and behaviors, to how to hear their story a little bit and then connect with someone who is appropriate to do a suicide intervention with them and get them the help. It's only 3 hours, not a huge time commitment, but that 3-hour time commitment could save someone's life.
Right. It's that skill that
that skill building and that confidence to say, I know what I would do if I encountered this, whether it's in my family or in public, and I feel confident that I can help them and save their life.
Okay. And quickly, can you just talk a little bit about the 988 signs that we're starting to see around the city?
It's very exciting. I'm very excited about this. It took a lot of effort from multiple city departments, and I really appreciate operations and facilities for helping prevention team get that project out there. So 988 is replacing the very long suicide helpline,
Right.
which still does work, but 988 is just a lot easier to remember. And since 988 has been implemented, the calls have increased. In the
that's
first year,
great.
they took 5 million phone calls. And it's also really important to remember that you don't always have to call 988 only when you're in crisis. They can just offer help and resources and that sort of thing too. So it doesn't have to be if you're in crisis. And the 988 signs, there's 50 988 signs all over the city of Chesapeake, which is amazing. It's really showing how the city of Chesapeake is making this resource known to our citizens, and then showing they're breaking down that
Right.
stigma just by having the signs up, which is
Yes.
amazing. And we've also added 50 more signs are in the works, and we
Nice.
will be putting them up on bridges and overpasses and other places that departments think that would be a really good spot. So we can really increase that awareness and show that the city of Chesapeake is a really suicide safer community.
That's great. And thank you, Christian, for coming to talk about this very serious, heavy topic today. I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for joining me on the first episode of this special series on suicide prevention. Suicide is not an easy subject to talk about, but these conversations are crucial. Every life is valuable, and no one should ever feel like they are alone in their pain. If you or someone you know is struggling, there is help available. Whether you're facing mental health struggles, emotional distress, alcohol or drug use concerns, or just need someone to talk to, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988.